5 o'clock here on 95.7 The Game. Michael Irvin stops on by, the Hall of Famer, the playmaker, for a weekly "Hey, how are you?" and go around the NFL. Michael, thank you as always. I hope the Thanksgiving meal was fantastic. Time with family and friends.
Yeah, it's family, friends, and football. So yes, all of it went great because the football part went great. So now you can come home and really enjoy the family and the friends and the food because you won the football game. So yeah, it was a good.
So are you suggesting that Detroit fans haven't had a good Thanksgiving in about 30 years?
Yeah, in a long time, buddy. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. All you Detroit and certain cities like Detroit, some places you just try to say, this has become part of the tradition. First we lose the football game, and then we have family and friends over. You just got to change it like that and start being happy on misery. Just like that. It's
the silver lining for Lions fans. I guess that's it.
It's the silver. That's it. You should have a silver stretch offense, right? Detroit. That's just okay. You know what I mean.
Did your family get into that Warriors and Mavericks game last night? I know we were talking about that. You were looking for a few tickets down low and wanted to make sure that load management wasn't going to rob you of some star power. Everybody played. Did the family get in?
It was a great game, too, right? And yes, they got some great seats, because, it's Wendy. I told you how important she is to me. She takes care of everything around the house. She really did have a great time, and it was a great game, D. I mean, it came down to a Klay Thompson three-point shot to tie the game and go into overtime. Luka showed up and showed out. When they walked back in the house, D, right when they walked around, I said, man, that was a great game. Y'all happy? They were like, we lost. I said, no, you live in Dallas. You actually won. You actually won. But she's such a big, Steph fan and Golden State fan. So she was sad that they lost. I said, we didn't lose. We won. You're in Dallas. But she had a great time.
Klay had a really good look at the end, too. I'm glad your family had a good time. Let me tell you, 49ers fans had a good time. Even though it wasn't much offensive firepower, the defense carried the afternoon in such an impressive way. I mean, to shut out anybody in this league, I don't care who it is, where you're playing them, or how you're playing, to shut out anybody is pretty special. To have 4 weeks in a row now, Michael, of not allowing a point in the second half, like, how much weight do you put on that? It's a pretty rare streak in the modern NFL.
It is. It's a very rare streak. And when you start doing things like that, we start talking about, is this defense comparable to some of the greatest defenses we've seen in the history of our game? You start talking about that. You start talking about those Bears defense, those Chicago Bears, those defense, that Ray Lewis-led Ravens defense that dominated people. You know what I'm saying? That's what San Francisco's doing right now defensively. And this is a great match. Yeah, stopping the Saints and the dog and all that, okay, that's one thing. Stopping these Dolphins is going to be a whole nother show. And I can't wait. I'm talking about I can't wait. This is a great week. We got Cincy and Kansas City playing. We got the Dolphins and the 49ers playing. Those are going to be two of the hottest, greatest games of the week.
Given the fact that the 49ers have had one really poor defensive game all year, and that was against Kansas City, the question logically becomes how to compare Miami's offense and Kansas City's offense in terms of what the 49ers have to do to stop them.
Well, and you know what? That's a great question. Let me tell you why, man, because the only reason San Francisco lost that game was because they had God at quarterback. That's basically who's playing quarterback for them in Kansas City. And some of the things he was doing, you know what I mean? Buying time, finding players, Tua doesn't do that. Tua's going to basically be where he's supposed to be. Now, you had an issue with God at quarterback. That means Patrick Mahomes was your issue at quarterback. And because he was so good, it was hard to stop all the receivers because you got to cover them through the first route, the second and third route with all the time he's buying. The problem here is now, you got to get to the quarterback, but now you're going to have to cover some real receivers. I'm talking about some track speed receivers. And the 49ers like to play a zone coverage. Sometimes that's a bad matchup for this kind of speed if you don't get to the quarterback.
Slowing down Tyreek Hill If it was up to you, how would you even try to do it? Obviously, it is the key that every single defensive coordinator looks at,
right.
But not a lot do it. Not a lot have any success doing it. How would you even go about trying to slow down Tyreek Hill?
And honestly, I think it's a little more difficult now that he's in Miami than it was when he was with Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes, because you remember how they stayed on top. They said, we're going to stay on top of you. We're not going to let you guys get any plays over the top. And Andy Reid did some great things in designing some schemes, still getting him some passes. But this, in Miami, this is basically a short passing game offense. So if you want to back up and stop him from getting over the top, no problem. You're playing right into their hands, because they want to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands fast and get it into these receivers' hands fast. So this is going to be interesting. And I think that's what makes him so much more difficult to stop now, because now it's like, okay, he's just not a fast guy, but I got to back up because he is so fast. But they're throwing short passes, and he's doing things with them. And he got a sidekick over there, Waddle. They got some real good skill players.
Michael Irvin with us here on 95.7 The Game. So, Tua, just a year or two ago, was being looked at only through the prism of what he wasn't and what he wasn't going to be. His head coach then becomes Mike McDaniel, and all of a sudden, Tua is looked at through the prism of how good he is, how efficient he is, and how much better he's going to get. What is the real difference in terms of how his coach is using him, or is this what happens when you put just the talent of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle around a quarterback? Who has made the quarterback better, the players around him or the coach?
I think all of the above, and they have fit this thing perfectly. What makes it, and I understand the question you're asking, what makes this go like this? Because this is what every guy is looking for, especially any team with a young quarterback. Somebody that can come in, and this is what makes it go. Somebody that comes in and says, listen, let me see the quarterback. I will map this game around him. That's how you make him successful. Stop asking him to do all this stuff that you've been doing for the last 60 years, and you're so embedded in it, the old NFL. The new NFL is build a system around your quarterback. And when Tyreek Hill said it, he's an accurate quarterback. He's very accurate. In that short passing game, he built the system around that accuracy. And you're seeing it. He's in the MVP race. We started this year off wondering and questioning, is he the long-term answer for Miami? And everybody kept saying, Justin Herbert, you could have had Justin Herbert. And you don't hear those talks anymore. He is undefeated the games he started and finished this season. That's why, everybody should be looking for that. That guy that can come in and put a game plan around my young quarterback.
Would that given Miami's offense, would it make sense, at least in your mind, for the 49ers to become more conservative on offense and to be more interested in ball control just to keep Miami off the field?
I think we always say that. People talk about that stuff. But the game dictates what it is. If we get out in the game and we want to be conservative, we want to try to use the clock, take the clock up, and you're giving me man-to-man coverage, one-on-one, man-to-man, trying to play. I got to take opportunities to get up the field to make plays because you're giving me those opportunities. You see what I'm saying? So I understand in the premise when we start talking about controlling the ball and all of that, slow down this offense. But the game would dictate that. And you can't, even if you go in with wanting to control the ball, if they're pressing me and I'm in the NFL and they'll give me the single coverage, press coverage, I got to be willing. To pull the trigger and make the big plays. So, in theory, it's a good idea. But I always said, be ready to play and do whatever the game needs you to do.
Michael, we got to know Raheem Mostert, obviously, with his time with the 49ers. And, he had one of the epic NFC title games for the 49ers. And he's liked out here. He was, asked about his new quarterback, and he said, man, my guy can really sling it. And so everyone then said, well, that must be an accusation that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't play like this. And and it turned into bulletin board material whether or not Raheem meant it so, and I don't even believe he meant it. Like, he's a really nice, not trash-talking guy. He really is. But some of the 49ers actually took the bait. And I'll tell you, Jimmy has aired no grievances, but he has said it is really nice to finally hear some people defending the quarterback that he is, the season that he's having, and he has improved in the one category that scared everyone the most, and that's turnovers. He hasn't thrown an interception for a career-best 4 games in a row now. What do you think of Jimmy's turnaround in spite of everything and all the noise and real trash talk, not trash talk, positive coverage, negative coverage, his own franchise trying to move on from him, for goodness sakes? I mean, it wasn't a narrative that the Niners tried to move on. They did, but he's still here. What do you think of this redemption story that we're kind of in the middle of?
Isn't it incredible when you think about it, though? And all he went through, and then after that first game, when we talked about, how he looked that first game, and now what he's done. And sometimes when somebody hangs you over the cliff like that, your whole life flashes in front of you. If you ever get that opportunity again, you say, boy, I'm going to hold on so tight and do everything I need to do right, and you will see a difference, because your whole life flashed in front of you. And that's exactly what Jimmy G has gone through. And you're seeing it on the other side. And honestly, I don't know what the decision will be next year, but he keeps playing like this. It'll really have helped him out, and it's exactly what he wants to be able to do now. He'll be able to, I think, we have some choices next year. Rather he stays or want to move around or go do something else, he'll have some choices.
What's the biggest mistake you ever made with your mouth? Like unintended trash talking. Somebody took a quote maybe out of context and ran with it. Did you ever say something that you didn't think was going to start a fire, and then all of a sudden you find Jimmy Johnson yelling at you or something?
Well, Coach never got on us about start talking noise. He just made sure you would say, as long as you back it up. As long as you back it up.
Nice.
I don't mind you talking, but back it up. That you just go out here and back it up, that kind of thing. And I've said some things I intended to be bulletin board material. Some things did not. Some things I did not. Like you talk about, I don't think most of it intended it to be that way. But San Francisco's taking it the right way. You're taking it the right way. You got it. I don't care if they said Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, really? Okay. So y'all. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's how y'all want to feel.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy? That's bulletin board material. That's what you do. They're taking the right approach because this is a big game. And no matter what you say, I'm going to get juiced up off it. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
All right, Michael, I've always wanted to ask you. I never have, but I feel that we're close enough now to where you'll answer this question honestly. Does Penn State win the Fiesta Bowl if you don't get off the airplane in camouflage?
It ain't the camouflage. I think the loss to Fiesta Bowl, it was the crazy when you took all the brothers up out of Miami and ran us in Arizona. Let me tell y'all something, man. We were out of hand in Arizona. God couldn't let us win that game. We were too ugly to win that game in Arizona. I'm just being real with you here. We would go in the stores, man, and get some to eat, get stuff. Last man got the money. Last man got the money. The last man is a big black Jerome Brown weighing 340. I ain't got no money, and we all gone. It was ugly. So I just took that as God said. I can't let you win when you acted this ugly. You know what I mean? That's the only piece I could get from that. Had we not acted that ugly, maybe we could have won that game. It had nothing to do with the camouflage. The camouflage, it had everything to do with how we handled that week.
We've talked about a big game. Now let's talk about a small one, or a relatively small one. Colts at Cowboys, and specifically the way the Colts lost their game the other night with a coaching blunder. When you
say that timing, that not calling timeout was a coaching blunder.
Not calling the timeout and then not having plays set up so that you lose so much time after that play that you've got no time left to do anything.
Right. I get you.
So my question is, when you've got a new coach and he makes a mistake that egregious that early, does he lose the team immediately, or does it take 2 or 3 more of those before a team just looks at their coach and go, he's not prepped for this?
No. They understand that he's a new coach also. And you saw that first game. You see what they were doing running that football. You saw the game against Philly, how they were running that football. They're going to give Jeff Saturday some opportunities. They're going to give them some time to learn those things because he's come in and giving them what they want. They want to run the football just like they're running the football, and they've been running the football better since he's gotten there, trying to get back to that. I'm worried about that for Dallas because that's Dallas. That's Dallas's kryptonite. If a team can just run and stick to the run, don't come off the run. I told you when they lost to Green Bay, it's the worst loss that you could suffer. You're up by 14 points, and a team runs you down running the football. Are you joking? They're taking their time. They're using the clock, and they still have confidence that they don't have to come off the clock, that they're going to run you down 14 points and just continuing to run the football. There's no respect for your defense and its ability to stop the run. No respect whatsoever. And you better believe Indy's going to test that this week.
Michael Irvin with us here on 95.7 The Game. And look, there are probably 2 fan bases that are surprised the most by how little Russell Wilson is working in Denver. That would be the Broncos fans. And I think 49er fans just can't believe on what they're seeing because Russell Wilson used to dominate the 49ers, and he has turned into, well, I don't know what's actually happening. Michael, let's just start with what's happening in Denver. Is it a player? Is it a coach? It feels like there's a race to lose the locker room first between the 2 of them.
Yeah, that's a hard situation. But it takes me back to what I was sharing with you with Miami. Coach, can you put a system around Russell that brings out what Russell does best? Russell gave the 49ers fits because he did a lot of the same things that Patrick Mahomes did when he played the Chiefs. He buys time for those guys to get open the second and third route. And then he always made smart decisions with the football. And now they're asking him to step back, drop back, let it go right now, and it's not his game totally. I don't mind him doing some of that, but you got to incorporate also what he does best. You can't just try to make him do what you think works best. You got to incorporate what he does best, and it balances out. So I'm worried about that. I don't know if they can fix it as they are. I think they're probably going to have to be either a change of systems, a change of head coach, because Russell Wilson is there. He's gotten that money. He's not going anywhere, and rightfully so. They need to make sure that what they're seeing isn't the head coach for a new first-time head coach, because Russell Wilson, like you said, has been a great player for a lot of years.
One other game that hasn't gotten a lot of notice because of the 2 big ones has been a Buffalo-New England game. Is this a game that is going to be closer than it looks because Buffalo's sort of been struggling of late? Or do you think they reestablish who they are and their place near the top of the AFC?
I think they'll move back towards reestablishing. But what you also saw was the Patriots find some offense now. They found some offense. So it'll still be a good game because I said last week I saw that they just found some offense. I mean, if they find an offense, building that defense will give you something. So the Buffalo Bills, that rivalry between Buffalo and New England, it's going to be a good game. What will make it better is not that the Bills were struggling, is that the Patriots were struggling and they have found an offense.
Speaking of the AFC East, the Jets basically seemed to have moved on from Zach Wilson, and they got a particularly strong game from Mike White last week. Is that something that players tend to gravitate around, or are they always a little bit leery when a backup has a good first impression?
Well, and a lot of stars, Sauce Gardner's, I know Brees Hall is hurt and all those guys. This is the first year there. It's their first year there. And they like to think the attitude and everything that's going on around the locker room changes things. That not only did they could you see how those people, how those guys were all over Mike White, they were happy for him. Usually, even if you like the other guy any little bit, you're kind of careful with how you congratulate him because you don't want to hurt the feelings of the other guy. I was shocked at how openly they were at congratulating Mike White. But a lot of those young guys, I'm sure they must know of and heard the history that this is not the first time that we ran by this mountain before where Mike White had a great game. And everybody was like, oh, my God. And then, next week wasn't the same thing.
There was a big PDA though. It wasn't. I mean, there were like two teenagers making out on a park bench. There was so much PDA between the players and Mike White, and I thought that was a little bit of a message to Zach Wilson.
Right, and there's no doubt. You're absolutely right. There was a that's a message to Zach Wilson. Now, and that was they loved the way he played because he was throwing interception. Now, if he goes in here and have one of these 3 interception games, then everybody would say, well, that's why he was a backup and all of those things. So I need to see some more of that. Let me see that you can do this consistently and consecutively in games without throwing interceptions. You got a good enough team, Mike White. You just can't mess it up. Just don't go messing it up. Now, my whole theory, though, is I'm not throwing out my second pick right now totally for Mike White. I'm just not doing it. If I can get it to him, get him the lesson, and then get him back in the game some kind of way, I'm going to certainly do that to make him see what he needs to learn and try to earn the respect of his teammates. But getting rid of him on Mike White having that one game when I saw the same thing last year, I'm not ready to do that.
Michael, I'd like to wrap up by asking a Hall of Famer a question about his Hall of Fame friend who was in the news this week. I saw that Colorado made a play for Coach Prime. Is Deion Sanders ready for a Power 5 job? I mean, look at it this way. Colorado, it's got an opening Pac-12 in front of it. When the Buffaloes were at their Eric Bieniemy very, very best, they recruited the hell out of Los Angeles. And with USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, maybe they can recruit Los Angeles. Coach Prime to the Colorado Buffaloes. Might it happen?
Well, that's an interesting thing, and he did confirm that was, that was happening. Some people certainly talked to him about that, and that offer was on the table. Now, would he take it? Oh, I don't know. Right now, listen, I know time, man, and time is in. He's doing such incredible things at Jackson right now. Such incredible things. And for time to take a job, you'll have to, boy, it have to be a perfect job for him to lead what I believe is God's work through him at Jackson, Mississippi. It's not just the school that he's raised up right now. The whole community, they'll tell you crime is down in that whole community since he's gotten there because he has these outreaches. You go out, try to talk to the guys. Like, come on, man, we don't have to do these things. I think Time sees a lot of this, and he's always talked about this over the years that he and I have been best of friends. That's his calling. He's always tried to help people. I told you, I remember right out here, my other house, Time would come over, man, when I was acting crazy. He said, hey, man, you ain't leaving this house unless you go through me. Man, we got to fight. Time, you keep me here. He's always been about taking care of his people, man. So it'll be hard, I think, for him to leave for Colorado right now and how he can explain that to his boys. Now, Colorado just put down a whole bunch of money. That might be a whole different thing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But Florida State or something like that, I think Time's going to wait on those opportunities.
Always great to talk to you, Michael. Thank you so very, very much.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. And it is great to hear that my boy's getting some opportunities out there because he's doing such a great job. You warm my heart telling me those things. Thanks, guys.